The leader of our party, Donald J. Trump, escaped an assassin's bullet by less than an inch. Our House Majority Leader, Stephen Scalise, came within seconds of death by an assassin himself. And now, the most influential conservative activist in generations, our friend Charlie, has been murdered. This violence, it doesn't come from nowhere.
Vice President J.D. Vance calling out the left for inciting political violence while honoring his friend Charlie Kirk by hosting his show today. Also appearing on the show, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who spoke against what he called the organized campaigns that lead to political violence.
With God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
The vice president's guests included White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who spoke of how Charlie inspired her to do her job.
He would go to these campus reform events and he would say to the crowd, if you disagree with me, come to the front of the line. And I find myself doing that in the briefing rooms, you know, picking on the reporters whom I know very much disagree with me and with the president. But as long as you believe in what you're saying and you have conviction in it and you have truth and the facts on your side, it makes it a lot easier to say it. And that's what Charlie did.
I think conviction is such a good word to describe Kirk. And then also, I listened to Vance host the show. And one of the things that stood out to me is that he said to honor his friend, Charlie Kirk, he wanted to be a better father and a better husband. One of the things he brought up was that Erica, I guess, said that Charlie had never raised his voice at her. And he said, you know, it's not all husbands can say that. And that he wanted to be a better husband in honor of Charlie. I thought it was very touching. You know, one of the things that also is going to be going forward is who is going to host the show. Do we know that yet? Chris, have they talked?
I don't think so. I'm not aware, no. I haven't seen who will. But his wife, his widow now, put together an amazing video that was available over the weekend. And it really was quite remarkable and emotional, and it was very three-dimensional. And she's talking about how his cause will certainly go on, and that he loved doing his radio show, and it will continue. But I don't believe anybody's been selected.
No, you can't fill someone's shoes like that. It's like with when Rush Limbaugh died, it was who's going to be the next Rush Limbaugh. Right. There isn't going to be another
Nobody,
Rush Limbaugh.
right?
The thing that, like, obviously Charlie, we all know, especially in the 2024 election, how important he was for the Get Out the Vote movement, for the Trump campaign, and for the mail-in ballots. But, like, on a personal level, Charlie Kirk was filling such an important void for this disaffected generation of young men, many of whom are fatherless, who needed a model of positive masculinity. Look, I think we've really benefited from the fact that for the last 50 years, we've had great cultural messaging about women. You can work, you can be a mom, you can be all these things, girl bossing. It's wonderful, and that's great. But there wasn't really an alternative for men. There was a cultural vacuum of what does positive masculinity look like. In that vacuum, you got a lot of toxic masculinity, to borrow a word from the left, of Andrew Tates and red pilling. Charlie was the opposite of that. Someone who was such a dedicated father, someone who was such a good husband. And I think it's really interesting that J.D. Vance focused on that from Erica Kirk, because J.D. Vance grew up fatherless, and he talks about that a lot in Hillbilly Elegy, how, like, rage was always his first response. Yeah. And you have to wonder, did this 31-year-old young man still in, like, the cusp, the early part of adulthood, how much influence did he have over the vice president of the United States?
And you talk about that he had a real effort with Get Out the Vote, but also in his death, he's ignited a whole new generation. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, spoke from Charlie's home studio on Friday with a message to those who thought they could silence her husband.
They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. In this world, you have no idea.
Information, truth, is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.